welcome to I Want to Believe.
Do you?
I'm I'm Elsie, and I'm a wildlife biologist, or a nice way to say, a big fucking nerd.
And I'm Geneva. I'm an artist, and that's just a nice way of saying I'm totally unemployable.
We both love the paranormal, but maybe less for the spooky, scary part, and more of the humor in it all.
And the weirdness.
Absurdity, yes. And, well, we've just decided that's going to be everyone else's problem now, as we delve into our favorite examples of the strange and unusual, from Bigfoot to alien abductions and everything in between.
And then some, and much more. And you're going to have to deal with it.
I don't know, we're so aggressive.
It is very aggressive.
Very aggressive. We like to go over some recent news of something paranormal. It's a little hard to find, so my first, a New York Times article about living in haunted houses.
What it's like to live alongside ghosts.
I didn't really plan as to what we were going to talk about with this article.
Just the idea of living in a house that you know is haunted, I guess. And what that means, as opposed to what people think it means because of movies.
Have you lived anywhere you think is, definitively haunted?
I think so, but I like to believe in all kinds of things. I mean, I've seen things that seem unexplainable and felt things that were weird and unearthly, I guess. So, who's to say?
Who's to say?
Which is why we're here today.
I think I've lived in a haunted apartment. I think that house we lived in Brownville was pretty haunted too.
That's
Miss
the one
Law's
I was
house.
thinking about. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yes. Had all the cabinet doors in the kitchen come flying open once when I was all by myself, and there was no explanation, and it was weird, but it was very much one of those horror movie things. Although I didn't scream, I just was a little dumbfounded.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would just, shock me. More than into silence.
That's what happened. I was more shocked into silence, and I remember just looking around and then walking outside.
Yep.
Just to be like,
okay.
Well, that happened.
Moving on with my life now.
Okay, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, basically. That's the way you deal with these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why a lot of people, don't like to talk about, I think more people have paranormal experiences than they like to admit. It's just one of those things that either you don't notice it, or you move on and say, oh, wow, that was weird.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, oh, exactly. That doesn't go along with my traditional ideas of what reality is. So I'm just going to not address that ever again.
Challenging my worldview? Yeah, I'm not about to do that today.
No thanks.
I guess we don't need to can't really go point by point. I don't want to just reiterate what the article is about, but it had a good point about sort of the Gen Z interest in, true crime and,
oh, yeah.
bad, dark things. It talks about, actually, podcasts about haunted things and crime documentaries and how that changes how young people who are now getting into the home buying market almost want haunted houses.
Yeah, like how back in the day they would, if your house had a murder happen in it, it was always those people who would say, oh, they have to disclose that there was a murder in that house. It's a murder house, and no one wants to buy a murder house. But it almost seems like now there legitimately are these younger people going, hell yeah, I want a murder house. I want ghosts in my house.
It's something interesting. It's something a talking point, a selling
niche
point.
Thing. Oh, come look at my coffee table. No, it's my ghost. Come over and hang out with my ghost.
Hang out with my ghost. Come see Matumbo.
Yeah,
my
we
statue.
Literally do this. Yes.
Yeah.
So we're not above this.
We're going to play Cards Against Humanity with a haunted tiki statue that showed up on a beach one day in the middle of nowhere.
Everyone who seems to meet Matumbo, this haunted tiki statue, comes away knowing he's unique and definitely haunted in some respect. And he has won Cards Against Humanity against 3 human beings.
Multiple times.
Yes.
And he played his own card.
It's ridiculous.
So you could say, it's just all happenstance and it's just the randomness, but
eventually randomness becomes a pattern that's hard not to notice.
Another interesting point that's brought up is the pandemic and sort of how the presence of, we really had to talk about death a lot more, and like
Oh, yeah.
our relationships with like death and what comes after, and also being stuck in your house all the time, and who lived here before me, and where did they go, and what happened. Like, I think that's such a...
All these things culminate, and then the idea of the people who are younger now falling away from organized religion, and yet not away from the idea of spirituality. That probably leads a lot of them to go, okay, well, maybe the afterlife is real, but maybe it's not some
pearly gates
old man with a giant beard sitting there telling you, you fucking suck, because you remember that one time you did that thing?
Remember that one time you jerked off after your grandmother's funeral? Yeah, you're not
sick.
You're not getting in.
Sick!
Rejected!
Yeah, no, I think enough people have seen the ridiculousness of that, and yet enough weird things that it lends to this old, like, the way spiritualism was way back in the day is more about the occult, almost. Yeah. And that seems to be a thing now, too.
Oh, definitely. There's a huge rise in, like, the occult, and, like, witchcraft has become, like, a big, like...
Oh, yes. Every wine mom wants to be a witch.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be a witch.
Yes.
So, like that song, The Aristocats.
Yes, exactly. It's a classic. Everybody wants to be a witch.
A witch is the only bitch who knows how to scratch the itch.
Yes, exactly. We all know the song.
We all know. The movie was about cats, right?
Yeah, some cats, whatever.
Some cats. This is the one with the singing cats, not the people cats.
I really still... off topic, but no, I want to see the weird people cats version of Cats, the new one. I haven't yet, and I want to, but I only want to see the butthole release. That's all I'm interested in. I want to see those CGI cat buttholes.
I want to believe in the butthole cut of Cats. I want it to be real. I haven't seen it either. Like
where I can see the butthole of an anthropomorphic cat
with Taylor Swift's face.
Yeah,
like, please,
come on. That's all I need, man.
You know, someone out there is probably good enough at, like, we've got all this, like, you know, you can make deep fakes with AI. Like, you could make it happen.
Very true.
And maybe that'll be my next big project.
And I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna break the boundaries.
You heard it here first, folks. It's like the version of the Sonic movie when he had that really terrifying old design. That exists somewhere.
It's out there.
It's hidden away, but...
Yep, with the Ark.
The Ark
of the Covenant somewhere. They wheeled it into that big...
Amelia Earhart, she's in there.
Just this big warehouse.
D.B. Cooper's in there, he's watching it.
That's really what's at Area 51. We're uncovering some shit today,
We're going
people.
to find out.
Oh.
Really got...
we were talking about
ghosts.
Yeah, that's right, we were talking about ghosts.
Yeah, I think ghosts and religion are a really fascinating, like, convergence, too, just because, like, I've met some very religious people who 100% believe in ghosts, and, like, that's a huge thing. And then others who are just, like, believing in ghosts? That's Satan. Like, you can't do that. It's too new world, too new age.
Yeah, and it is interesting when you look at, like, Catholicism, which, you know, I know a lot about. The guilt. The guilt. It eats me every day for nothing. All because of that.
It just exists, and I'm full of guilt.
But it's almost occultish in their own way. Like, I mean, it's hard not to see the occult representation within Catholicism and how they use paganism as often as they do. And that they still do. Not depossessions. What's the word I'm looking for?
Exorcisms?
Exorcisms.
There we go.
A depossession is the same thing.
I mean, it's the same thing.
It's just layman's terms.
Ghost be gone.
Yes.
You know, get out of here.
Spray a little ghost be gone. You know. It's gotta be a priest, though.
No, yeah, you gotta go to the special school in the Vatican.
Because they're the ones that teach you how to deal with pea soup spitting children. It's the only place.
It's the only way. But it is, you know, there's a lot of, like, pagan and Catholicism. Like, they take many of their, I mean, it's all about having iconography and saints and...
Yes, and basically, you know, the really old church is being built on even older Druid spots of worship because they knew there was such power there. in whatever respect they meant that. Definitely feels like maybe it was a spiritual power they were searching for.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's so much of these, like, druid and pagan religions that were lost. Beliefs and histories that were wiped out because of...
Templars or whatever.
The Crusades.
The
Is
Crusades.
that it?
Trying to get that golden apple for that bitch. Oh, wait, no, that was Assassin's Creed.
It's Assassin's Creed.
Same death.
Me and my video games are not historically accurate.
I mean, that was pretty good, though.
That was pretty
assume.
solid. Like,
It seemed really accurate.
rooted in some reality.
There's an idea there.
Oh, here's another good, like, the marketability of, like, famous haunted houses.
Oh.
Like how the house that inspired The Conjuring sold for $1.525 million.
Jesus.
It's only a 5-bedroom in Rhode Island. Or, the Borden house in Massachusetts sold for $1.8 million without any open houses or showings. And there's a couple of houses like that here in Maine, too.
Oh,
There's
yes.
based on some, might have been some Stephen King related.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Oh, I can't think of the name of it, though, but I know what you're talking
It's
about.
lost on me.
No, it's definitely a thing that, I can't believe people would pay a shit ton of money to live in a house where the daughter hacked up her parents with an axe. Could you imagine being, like, a parent with a teenage daughter and moving into this house being like, guess what happened here?
Guess what happened? Don't get any ideas.
It almost seems not a great...
Not the wisest idea, but
yeah.
that's what... If you have $1.8 million to spend, I suppose that's probably not your biggest concern anymore. Like, you probably don't even see your kids at that point.
Yeah,
Your
I mean,
nanny
no,
raises them.
if I had that much money, I feel like getting murdered would be my number one concern all the time.
Yeah, that's true. It's just like, it's probably, and the call is coming from inside the house. Like,
Yes, the richer you get, the chances are higher, I feel.
especially, to get that inheritance money.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta die faster.
Exactly. And you think those ghosts whose house you just bought for way too much are going to protect your ass?
Oh, yeah, no, they're just like, yeah, come join us. We're lonely. Like,
If it's like American Horror Story, it's just a house full of, like, errant ghosts who can't leave, and they're like, these friggin' people. Again. They want me to perform, basically.
Yeah. It's like, really? Yeah, I kind of feel like that about famous places that are haunted. It's just like, do the ghosts feel like they need to, like, put on a show for us? Like, especially when they do, like
one-trick ponies.
Yeah, it's just like, come speak to us. And we do, 5 ghost tours a night. So it's just like, every couple of hours, somebody's knocking on your door, like, hey, can you come out and, like, say hi? It's just like, man, I'm just trying to, like, watch my soaps.
The only...
my ghost soaps.
Yes, the ghost soaps. They're the best ones.
The days of our lives.
The days were our lives.
The days were, the nights of our lives.
There you go. Yeah, I know, that is weird. I feel like the only ghosts who would be okay with that are the ghosts of, like, old... like movie women, with the turban, the weird actress turban ladies who are like, the show must go on. And she's just like, hell yeah, I get to act every night.
This is my dream.
They're here for me. They love me.
They love me. Or someone like Houdini. Like somebody who performs,
Yeah,
I
like a
could see
performer's
it.
ghost would probably be into it. But then again, I mean, it's your eternity. And I think... Who was it? It was in Seinfeld. I think it was Seinfeld himself who said, if it was a ghost, if I was a ghost, why would I stay in one place? I'd be flying all over, doing whatever I want, seeing everything. Why would they just stay in that house?
Like, you've got to be like, I've always wondered that. It's like, are you really like...
Are you tethered there?
Are you tethered to one spot? It was a show I watched, a really terrible kind of... sort of ghost hunters inspired show that was Paranormal Home Inspectors.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing. I want to see that.
So bad. But they
check
really
out
like
the bones in this house. It's got great bones.
It's got great bones. Including the ones in the basement.
They're holding up the walls.
But there was a good point made about it where they were talking about, like, oh, well, this kid died in the river that's a mile away from the house, and maybe that's the spirit haunting you. It's just like, how, like, in proximity to a murder do you have to be for a ghost to be stuck there? Like, it was, like, 5 blocks down the street.
But he really liked this house.
He really liked the house. You know, he used to see it all the time.
He always wanted to come in.
Yeah, you know, he
We
just
wouldn't let
really
him.
liked the architecture. like it would make sense if it was like, oh, you know, my family member died here, but it's just like, no.
No, he was
some
friends with
guy.
the kid who lived here, and he left, like, this thing in the bedroom, so his ghost is always trying to go.
Attached to this baseball that he never got back from his friend.
He's just constantly trying to get in our house. It's really annoying.
It's like, we could try to give it to him, but I mean, he's a ghost. He can't take it.
True.
It's not ghost baseball.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do with it? Paragraph in this article is this woman talking about, like, she compared living with ghosts to having roommates. These just happen to be ones she didn't ask for. It's just like, I suppose, yeah, I mean, you get close to friendly enough with the ghosts, and they're not really messing with you, but it's just like, ah, man, Steve, can you stop, like, floating the dishes around? Please not slam the door. We have a ghost in our basement, though. Always turns the lights on. Like, the shop lights, just... We'll go down there. It's been like a week since we've been down. Oh, the lights are on today. I wonder how that happened.
I know that there's a ghost in my apartment right now, although, honestly, it's almost like that quote, you know, like a roommate, but I don't ever really... I only feel him sometimes, and I know who it is, and I was told after the fact, and it fits perfectly. So, my apartment, there was a man who was in his late 70s who passed away in my apartment, in my bedroom, right near my bed, where my bed sits now, and my boyfriend was friends with him, and lives down the hall, and it was sitting on my bed, and pointed to the floor, and was like, "That's where I found him." And I'm like, oh, well, that really ruined the moment.
Thanks.
But, like, now I can't not think about it because I know this guy was quite lecherous. And when I'm changing in my bedroom, I get that feeling like there's eyes on me. And I'm always like, Ed, stop. Stop looking at me, Ed. Like, that's... it's
like,
just... Ugh.
Quit it, you old perv.
Yeah, and it's that feeling, though, and I just know. I'm like, ugh.
You know he's there.
Weirdo. But other than that, he's fine. He's just pervy.
Weird pervy roommate shows up every once in a while.
Yeah, we've all been there. At least he's not eating my food.
Yeah, that's true. We had a lot in our Unity apartment.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so much. And we're not sure, like, who it could have been, because our landlord had mentioned the previous landlord had lived in that apartment, but we don't know if he died there or not. Like, within the first, like, month we lived there, it was, like, 90 degrees out. Even at night, it was super hot, and then all of a sudden I wake up in the middle of the night and it's freezing cold. And, I know, all the cats are on the bed. You know, my husband's in bed. So there's nobody walking around. And then there's... because we have a million rubber ducks. Tiny little rubber ducks just scattered everywhere. And one of them squeaked right on the floor. And it was freezing cold all of a sudden. I was just like, oh, it's, just checking out the new tenants, huh? Like, paying us a visit?
It's weird when you can feel it.
You can feel it.
Sometimes it's even more chilling, no pun intended, but sometimes it's more chilling when you can just feel rather than see. Mm-hmm. Because it's almost like a human can trust their sense of innate feeling more than you can even trust your eyes sometimes.
Yeah, it's that heightened, like, temperature and smell and just, like, everything.
Just the weight of the room changing.
In the air, like.
While we're speaking about haunted houses, I have an idea, because, again, it's kind of based off of a show that I had seen. The idea is that rather than a ghost themselves just being in your house, they're there because of a piece. Something, whether it's like a harmonica that's in the basement underneath that floorboard, or, you know what I mean? Like, maybe the haunting or possession or whatever is because that thing is there, and the idea of getting that out of the house will end it.
Yeah.
And this guy from the show, now he's got like a whole museum full of haunted objects. And I kind of want to go, but at the same time, I'm like,
you're gonna bring something back with you?
Yeah,
Don't visit the gift shop.
Yeah. No. I don't want to.
That kind of goes to, like, the idea of, like, haunted dolls. I just think of Delia, our little sister, has a haunted doll.
Oh, yeah.
That our stepdad's convinced he saw move multiple times, and now he has to have it facing backwards looking away from him because he's very scared of it.
Is it that one that was in her closet?
It was like she was like a porcelain, like, angel kind of looking doll.
Well, you know what happened to that haunted doll is that our little sister Delia was telling me about how much she hated the haunted doll. So I took it. And she lives at my house now. And my son, who is my 16-year-old, doesn't like the looks of it. But he's like, "Rrr." But my 6-year-old son is really freaked out by this doll. And he makes me face it towards the wall when he comes over. I spray painted her, took all her clothes off, spray painted her chrome, and then I painted her eyes so they have like binary in her eyes. It's really cool. Oh. But she's still really kind of creepy.
She still got that.
Something's
in her.
Some about her isn't right.
Yeah.
Even as a robot, she's still kind of creepy.
I always wondered what happened to that doll. So I was like, there's no way she kept her. Like,
No,
I don't know why she picked her out to begin with.
Yeah, she purposely was like, please take this with you.
Please take this. It's really scary.
So yeah, haunted dolls at my house.
Haunted dolls.
I forgot she was haunted. Maybe I let out whatever was in her because I did rip her hair off, and I scooped her head out like a jack-o'-lantern essentially, which is a great thing to do. Anybody wants a little cathartic fun time?
just taking some dolls apart. Yeah.
Rip a doll apart.
I remember we did that with Barbies. Yeah.
It's fun.
That comes up every year in my Facebook memories. There's this picture of mangled Barbies. It's like, remember this?
Yes,
Sometimes
I
it'll
do.
give me a video of like cheery music. It's like do 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 do. Woo! Barbies.
How could I forget? Good times.
Like, oh, of course I remember. So we'll move on to the next topic, which is Bigfoot, which I didn't really have, like, I guess a solid idea of what we were going to talk about in terms of Bigfoot, other than, like, I just wrote the Patterson-Gimlin film and nothing else. My really great outline for this episode is 2 bullet points with a single word in them, pretty much.
Well, okay, so if we'll start from the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Alright, so the Patterson-Gimlin film was, and still is, regarded as one of the, like, ultimate pieces of evidence of Bigfoot. There's been so many people who've claimed to debunk it or prove that it couldn't be faked. And it was filmed in 1967 in Northern California by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin.
Hence the name.
And the Bigfoot presented in it, a fun fact I didn't know until recently, is believed to be a female Bigfoot, and they call her Patty.
Oh, really? See,
she's got breasts.
I heard something about Patty the Bigfoot. I didn't realize that's... Oh.
So that's Patty. And, of course, a lot of people believe, like, oh, it must have been, could just be a man in a costume, but there's been so many, especially with, like, the use of AI tools now, people really stabilizing the footage and comparing, like,
it's
the
impressive.
height and it is very impressive.
It's super
very
cool.
robust, even,
It's cool to see that our technology makes us be able to think we can debunk things and only be able to undebunk them even further, if that makes any sense.
Bring about more questions, less answers.
Yes. Science.
Science.
No, I think it's real. I love to believe the idea that there's anything more than us humans out there intrigues me, but especially Bigfoot, because there are some Native American tribes that believe Bigfoot is Jesus, essentially, and that when they see him, it's a sign of end times.
And Mormonism actually has a very similar thing where they believe that Cain never died, and there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings supposedly in, like, the Utah area.
Mm-hmm.
Because people want to say, I saw Cain.
Yes.
Foot, which I found just absolutely fascinating.
It really, that is super fascinating.
Probably the most wild take on, like, what could Bigfoot be? An alien?
He's Cain.
He's Cain from the Bible. The guy that
that guy
killed Abel. That guy.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a wild one.
Yeah, that's definitely, but it is fascinating. Like, you look at a lot of, Native American tribes throughout North America all have a very similar, and in other countries, you have the Yowie. In
Yes.
Australia, you have the Yeti. And
I mean, all over the world. How can all over the world we have these similar things and there not be some semblance of truth to that? It makes sense to me.
I've seen like both sides. I like to believe because, I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to think that there's something else out there. And is the idea of Bigfoot existing that much more wild compared to, anything else? We've had wilder, like, stranger things happen. A lot of people say, like, well, you can't, no one's gotten him on trail cam footage. Well, that's not entirely true, because there's plenty of supposed footage out there that's been supposedly debunked, but you don't know.
We don't know.
And also, it was shown, there's a couple studies, I wish I could remember, like, exactly where they were from, but it talked about people who study chimps in the wild and how hard it is to get them on trail cameras because they know to avoid them. And they are very, like, perceptive of, like, oh, I see there's, a camera set up here.
Even if it's
I'm
hidden.
gonna go around it. Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of know. Well, and then I can't remember which tribe, and I wish I had written this stuff down. I should have, but I didn't. But
this is our first episode.
Exactly.
We'll work it out.
We'll get there. We're getting there. But, like, Bigfoot could also be an interdimensional, like, using portals. And that's why people can't catch him and can't find him as easily, because he can warp through dimensions. That's something that I've heard, and it had to do with some tribe. It came from somewhere. I'm going to have to look more into that.
Could it have been one of the tribes near, like Skinwalker Ranch?
It might have been.
It might have been.
It very well could have been, which would have made sense.
That was a lot of talk about, like, portals and, like,
I have a lot of opinions on that.
Shifting. We'll have to just do a whole episode just on, like,
dimensional portals.
Dimensional shifting.
We'll get there.
What's that?
Well, okay, so if Sasquatch isn't real, then how come he's on YouTube playing the saxophone all the time? Answer me that. He's friggin' talented.
Riddle me this, atheists.
I seen it with my own eyes.
With my own eyes.
I done seen him. And he was killing it.
He's killing it, yeah. You thought Bill Clinton was impressive playing the saxophone? You have not seen
please.
Sasquatch. I do love the, like, whole cultural icon that Bigfoot has become, especially in, like, I feel like in the last, like, decade.
Oh, yeah.
It's become such a big thing, which I love this, like, new, sort of like we were talking with witchcraft earlier, how it's become, like,
it's
more
like accepted.
mainstream. Like, the whole, cryptids and, like, it's a big thing with the kids these days having their core aesthetics, and one of them is, like, cryptid core, and, like, and I think that's lovely because it gets more people interested.
It does. And it's exactly what needs to happen if we're really gonna discover something, instead of just having the constant idea that, well, that's stupid and only children believe that, or whatever. You're a crazy person. Maybe so.
Maybe so.
But that doesn't mean I'm not right.
And I just like, it's one of those things, there are, like, conspiracy theories that can really lead you down dangerous rabbit holes, but things like Bigfoot, is that really hurting anybody?
I don't think we're gonna find out that Bigfoot is a part of the KKK or anything like that. And if we do,
wild.
It's gonna be crazy.
We're gonna be holding him accountable. Like, man, come on.
You should know better.
That's the lovely part. I love all the ideas around, like, what could this be? I think from, like, a wildlife management perspective, it was probably one of the best things I think I ever posted on Reddit, actually, was a whole comment detailing how I think, like, if it was proven definitively that Bigfoot exists, that the Department of, like, Wildlife and Fisheries would not acknowledge it, because you would have to manage for Bigfoot.
Exactly, and that's a whole new thing.
Oh yeah, Bigfoot habitat. Sorry, you can't go hunting here anymore. It's
a Bigfoot habitat.
It's Bigfoot mating season. You've got to stay out.
And the amount of drunk rednecks who'd be going up there, I'm gonna catch a Bigfoot.
I'm gonna get Bigfoot.
I'm gonna go fuck me a Bigfoot.
Yeah, I mean, the monster fuckers, they're gonna be out there.
Oh my god, that would be such a thing. It'd be a whole new, like, kink.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I'm for it.
The underground Bigfoot
I want to see this. Now I'm curious.
Now I'm curious.
I'm fine. No kink shaming here.
No king shaming. But also, like, I think
Maybe a little, though.
it would hurt, like, not like that.
Yes,
Going back to the wildlife management part,
Sorry.
it would hurt. That was such a terrible timing.
Good segue.
Anyways,
It
fucking
would.
Bigfoot. It sure would hurt. Probably. Does he have a penis like a dog or like a
Is it
monkey?
like a red rocket? Like,
Is it barbed like a cat or like
Oh.
corkscrewed like a duck? Like,
oh,
oh,
that's a lot of good questions.
it's a lot of. I have a lot of Bigfoot biology questions. It's my favorite. But also, yeah, going back to like, if you acknowledge that Bigfoot is out there, and especially if Bigfoot is dangerous, you have to close down hunting areas, and then you're losing your funding from your hunting, like, licenses.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it would be such a mess. It's sort of why I believe, like, in Maine, like, they haven't acknowledged, like, yeah, we get mountain lions here, we get wolverines, because, oh, then you're gonna have to, you're gonna scare people out of the woods.
Yes.
Way more. But,
Yes,
I mean,
exactly. Or you're going to have to, like you said, figure out some way to
manage
deal
for
with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to, they're wildlife.
Yeah.
I would assume we would class Bigfoot as wildlife before we start classing Bigfoot as, like, human?
That would be interesting.
Like-
Okay, so would he talk? I mean, there's so many videos where you find people where they're like, you can hear them screaming and they have that weird, like on our Bigfoot on Reddit. There's so many videos that pop up with someone like, I can hear Bigfoot yelling in the woods, and it's always the same.
Same kind of sound.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a primate noise. And it makes me wonder, because it's almost human. Would they be able to talk?
Yeah, could we, teach
the-
them sign language?
Yes, exactly. In that same way. Clearly, they're smart enough not to get caught.
Yeah,
Maybe
probably
they're
smarter
way
than
smarter
us.
than we think.
Yeah. I mean, I would think Bigfoot is probably smarter than a human. Which is
Probably.
why they haven't been found, or as smart.
Yes,
they know
exactly.
they want nothing to do with us, which is why they stay away, generally.
Right? Because they know humans equals death.
But I definitely think there would be the ethical quandary. I watched this whole documentary about a woman fighting to get a chimp personhood to get him out of, like, a bad, like, he was being kept in captivity
Aw.
in, like, this tiny little cage, and she took it to court in New York for some legal reasons why it was easier to do it in New York, but she was trying to get him classed as a person so that they could take him out of this abusive environment and take him to a sanctuary for primates. It's
Oh.
like, so the ethical question of, like, yeah, could we hunt Bigfoot? Is it ethical?
Right.
Are Bigfoot intelligent enough to qualify as people?
Right. Because
Are
we
they human
don't
enough?
we don't go around hunting gorillas.
I
Well, I mean,
people
yes,
do
we
go
do.
hunt
I say
we're
this.
not supposed to be
Supposed
hunting
to.
gorillas for many reasons.
But it happens.
It happens. That's why
So
we
is it-
have so few of them.
Again, probably maybe it's the same thing with Bigfoot, and it reminds me of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah,
That you find a Bigfoot near the end. Spoiler for a game that's been out for a shitload of time. And he's crying, and you walk up to him, and he's explaining that he wants to die because he's the last living Bigfoot. All the other Bigfoots?
Bigfoots. Another question.
That's a whole nother one. They've all been hunted to extinction, and he's sad and wants you to kill him. And, like, this is my favorite part about the game because it was so depressing. And you get to meet Bigfoot, oh my god. But then, what if that's kind of how it is? What if they did get hunted so much in previous time that they've learned to hide?
Yeah, they're on the verge of extinction. Like, and that would, once again, back to, like, you'd have to really preserve, like, okay, this is where they live. No one is allowed there. It's sort of like elves in Iceland.
Yes, and the way they build
They-
the roads around where they live.
Oh, this is elf habitat.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can't build here, or don't go out into this little knoll.
And
because
as
they live
silly,
here.
yeah, as silly as the world may think that sounds and is it though? Because what if them doing that is them in a somewhat quiet way saying, we know they exist, but the world might not want to hear it in such blatant terms.
Especially since it's such a, like, culturally ingrained thing
Oh,
there,
yeah.
too. And, I mean, worst case scenario, they're just protecting land that's probably important to any variety of other species.
Oh, of
So
course.
it's not hurting anything. Sure, people are upset about, oh, I can't build this road here now. But it would be the same thing. I mean, it all just comes down to management tactics and conservation.
That's a whole different ballpark kind of thing. Yeah.
You know, it was confirmed, like, Bigfoot is real. I would be signing up as the first, like, biologist. Like, yes, I am on this. No primate experience, but, you know, I'll try.
I'm willing to live in with the Bigfoot.
The amount of...
Like Jane Goodall.
Yeah, like Jane Goodall. I am the Bigfoot Jane Goodall. I will live among them. I'll get to trust them. Hopefully it doesn't turn out like that guy that lived in Alaska with all the bears and they ate him.
Oh my god, that was disturbing. I
You
watched
know,
that documentary.
If that's the way I go, that's the way I go.
Well,
like, eaten by Bigfoot, I'm good with it.
It reminds me of, all I could think of is this episode from The Mighty Boosh where the crew goes out. Wonderful show, if anybody didn't know. I love you, Mighty Boosh. And they go out in the woods searching for Yeti, Bigfoot, and they find a whole bunch of Yeti, except they're all horny as fuck. And they ended up in their mating ritual, and those Yeti women are about to destroy these men, so they have to run away. But that's all I can think about. It's so good.
It's like, look, I know I said I'd never have kids, Mom, but this is my son. He's half Bigfoot. It's an
Sasquatch
amazing
is my daddy.
genetic. There's been so many like movies over the years where that has been like the plot line of like, oh,
Jack
your
Black's
mom's
father?
Yeah, Jack Black's father. We have one in Hollywood right now. Forget the lizard people. It's the Bigfoot people. Have you seen how hairy some of these folks are?
Robin Williams, bless his heart, he was like a proto-Bigfoot.
Proto-Bigfoot man.
He had squirrels strapped to his arms.
I mean, it could be sort of a group here in Maine that has done like genetic testing on our coyotes and proven that they are half wolf because the wolves hybridized with. So who knows? Maybe Bigfoot did exist and they were just, you know, a primitive. That's another like big
primitive
theory.
person.
A primitive subspecies or similarly evolved species to humans that we've hybridized with over the years, and there's just
The missing link.
yeah, there's just a really like isolated population somewhere that still exists.
Very well could be. There are so many places on our own Earth and in our own oceans that we don't even know. Like, we have not even explored every single little nook and cranny. And I hope that we don't.
Yeah,
I really hope that there are always some mysterious places.
I hope so. Like, if we get to the point where, you know, we've seen every inch of the earth and we've conquered it, then
What's the point?
what's the point?
Where's the fun?
There's
Come
no
on.
mystery anymore, and that's what, you know, keeps life interesting.
Very true.
This will definitely not be the last time we talk about Bigfoot. There's a lot of, like, biologists through professors I had in college who mentioned either with disdain or with, like, oh, yeah, you know, oh, yeah, this guy I worked with at such and such state, IF&W. Yeah, they totally believed in Bigfoot, and, like, because they had experiences that they could not explain. And, I mean,
Yeah.
that's honestly my time in college leading up to where I am now, like, spent so much time around people who are just like, yeah, you know, you spend enough time in the woods out, you know, trying
You see
to
unexplainable
be around.
things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just growing up, like, out here,
Oh, yeah.
you have some experiences that just don't make sense, and you generally don't question them. That's
Yeah,
sort
you
of the
just
way
kind
to
of
do.
keep moving.
Yeah, you just keep moving.
You're like, oh, that was weird.
It's like,
Alright,
anyways,
anyway.
moving on, so that doesn't eat me.
It's a lot of the Monty Python. Now for something completely different.
That was the thing. It was sort of just a very tangent, but Barry, my husband, was approached several years ago by a group who were going to go out looking for Bigfoot, and they wanted a biologist to go with them. He's like, well, I'm a marine biologist, but sure. Yeah, I'll go look for Bigfoot with you. And he's still so mad that it fell through. Just like, we just need to go out and do it ourselves.
Just go on a Bigfoot hunt.
Yeah, just go on a Bigfoot hunt.
Yeah. Find some spots that. Well, maybe we should do an episode where we
We go
out in the field.
of eyes on the ground.
We can paint a word picture.
Paint a word picture. Yeah, we're both writers. Like, we'll figure it out.
There's a bunch of these trees. Some rocks.
Rocks. Yeah.
You know.
We might need Barry for that one. He knows.
He knows
how
all
to
the fancy words
identify
for rocks and trees.
rocks and trees, birds.
He knows all the fancy words.
Oh, the fancy words. The scientific names.
Ooh la la. Nerd alert. Well, this has been a good episode for the first one, I think.
I'd say so. Thank you for joining us, as always. We hope to keep doing these episodes.
Yes. And once again, I'm Geneva. And I have an unironic, deep, passionate love for the Bloodhound Gang.
And I'm Elsie, and I used to have a gigantic collection of dead batteries hidden underneath my bed for the end times. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you again. Or, well, you'll hear us again.
This is I Want to Believe.
Do you?